the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
All right, we're back here on the Chase Thomas Podcast, where I'm now joined by a champion. Do we call him Champion Clay of Calhoun? We can have a lot of C alliteration here. It's Clay Stephenson, the head football coach of the Calhoun Yellow Jackets. Clay, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I've been called a lot of things, so champion's one on the top of the list for sure. So, and I appreciate you having me. It's always a good time. I love the stuff that you cover. A wide variety of sports here in the Southeast. So we appreciate what you do for sure.
Tennessee, Georgia line, man. I love it both. I grew up in as I tell folks, behind me when we move, I'll have the Parkview Brookwood helmets behind me, and to add more clarity and to my background and the Battle of Five Forks and everything else, that where it got started for me. And Friday Night Lights always going to be an important, special part to what I cover and what I do each and every day. But Calhoun, kind of, it's not far. It's like a 2-hour drive here from Knoxville. It's not that bad. I need to get over there.
Yeah, it's not too bad at all. It's I used to go to the Georgia-Tennessee game every year, and it's just about as quick to get to Knoxville as it is to Athens from Calhoun. So not too bad at all. You need to get down and check out a game.
How long did you give yourself to enjoy winning a state title?
That's funny you asked that. So my wife, we played for a state championship. We got out for Christmas break the next day, and so we're on Christmas break, and it was just after Christmas, and I was downstairs doing some film work for a next year's opponent, and she came down and got mad at me, and she was like, "Can you not be content content? You just won a state championship." So and we were, but it lasted a week or two, and at the end of the day, whether you win the last one or lose the last one, the next season's coming regardless. So it's been a huge deal for us here. I think I've preached about it every time I've talked to coaches and the players of not being complacent, trying to, because it takes the same amount of work regardless of what you did last year to get back there. So hopefully we're moving the right direction. But to answer your question, it was good for about a week or two, and then it was kind of moving on.
Well, one of the things I'm curious about is it's what is that disease of me or disease of more that Pat Riley talks about during his title years, and why it's just so hard to maintain a championship level program after you win one. And now you have you have kids coming back who just won a state title. Like some kids obviously graduating on, moving on, and that's how they ended things. But you have several kids who are going to be back, who are going to be playing important snaps for you, that already went through all of it. They won a state title, and you, I imagine, have to approach this offseason differently than you would have most years, because it's just that there's a natural oh man, we were close, or we lost in the semis, or we lost in the quarterfinals, or we got upset here, and let's go build off that. There's not really it's not building, it's maintaining, and that's a different type of deal for a bunch of high school kids to understand. It's look, it's not going to be that easy, and you're not just going to start winning state title after state title, and it's got to be something that you approach differently, right?
Yeah. So ironically, speaking of Pat Riley, because I'm trying to, obviously we've played for a lot of state championships. Blessed to be able to play for a lot. We've never been able to repeat. We've won. We've only gone back to a state championship game after we won once. So it's that's one of the things that kind of keeps me up at night. But mentioning Pat Riley, there was a guy here this week that we were talking about that same very topic, and he said that he read a book probably on the same thing that you were doing, and he's trying to find it for me. So there's no magic bullet. If I had the golden bullet to know how to get back and do the same thing, we'd just do that. But it's something that, to me, you have to go back to, and it sounds very basic, but the same things that you did last year to get you there, you have to go right back to doing that. And it's so easy, very easy, from the head coach on down to the filmer to be complacent and to kind of just rest for a little bit. And if you do that, my message has been this whole time, our coaches have, we're going to get passed up, and that's that's the key. We don't have the recipe, but we're trying to kind of do everything we did last year, and we changed some things up last year in our between December and summer break. And so hopefully we're moving the right direction, because like I told the kids at the end of spring practice, you don't know until you know, and it's really too late once you know. So hopefully we're working hard, and we just finished up spring and getting ready for our summer workouts, and we're going to keep piecing together the puzzle and see where we are come fall.
Did you, now that it's, I mean, time flies, man, but it's 6 months out, did you do anything differently off-season wise to prepare for this chance to repeat, or was it status quo in terms of, hey, this is what we do at Calhoun in the off-season?
Yeah, we try to make it status quo. When we get back from Christmas, like I said, we played all the way up until Christmas break. So when we got back in January, we don't call it an off season. We call it separation season. The message is, how can you? I got that from an Ed Milet podcast a couple. How can you separate from yourself? And all the way from being a husband and a father and a coach to down to a player, of how can you separate from yourself last year, and then how can we separate as a team? And that's been the big key this this separation season, because you did win. You so how can we keep separating from that team? So like I said, it's a work in progress. So we haven't done anything different. We've just tried to hone in on that message of not being complacent, and making sure that we're working just as hard now as we were last year, because last year at this time we missed the playoffs 2 years ago. So last year at this time, everybody in the program was ready to play football today. We were taste out of our mouth. So, and I didn't sense that early on getting back from Christmas break. So it was a lot of sleepless nights for myself until we could kind of get the team back into a routine and get them back to where working the way we wanted to work. So, like I said, hopefully we're doing the right things and heading in the right direction.
It's easy to say now, like, oh, there are certain moments that I want to get back to in terms of some rocky times last year, because it wasn't clean. It wasn't like you went undefeated and everything else. And I'm curious about that 1-3 start and what flipped from then on. We'll get to that in a second. But like, when you think back to last year and now that you went through the whole season, what was the biggest challenge that you had to get your team get them to where you want them, where that you thought they could ultimately get to, which was a state title?
Yeah, the biggest challenge when you have things happen in the program and you lose games, the biggest challenge here at Calhoun was just keeping us together and not to other people out there. And that was so we finished last year, missed the playoffs. We start out this year and we're 1-3. A lot of dark times around here, but outside of the program, but inside, it felt a little bit different. We were learning from those losses and not dwelling on those losses. And I think that was a huge key this year, because at the end of the day, when you lose, you're either going to win, you're going to learn something for it, or it's just going to be a loss in the loss column. So luckily we were able to learn from each loss this year. And I can't credit our 20 seniors enough. And we had a very eclectic group of seniors. We had, some superstars that went on to play in college. And then we had a lot of guys, probably 8 or 10 that didn't have much of a Friday night role. But to me, what they gave to our program and what they gave to me personally as a coach led us to a state championship, because they understood their role, and that role could be, backup scout team running back, or it could be the guy that's making sure the field's clean and the locker room's clean, and the weight room's clean. So we had a bunch of those guys that just loved Calhoun football, and we're obsessed with whatever role that they could get, even though they weren't getting their name called on Friday nights. And that was the most special part to me about this team, and what separated this team from other teams. Everybody, like I said, you got to have players that go out and play the game and make the plays. But the players behind the scene, the program kids that you hear about all the time, that separates good teams and great teams. And last year we were a great team because of those guys that didn't get their name called and loved their role and did it to the absolute best of their ability.
Yeah, I think the program guys, I think you're seeing at the college level too. It's like the programs that have solid foundations with program kids, even with the influx of talent. Like, there's no question you have to have a certain level of talent to win. Like, the blue chip ratio is a thing for a reason. You can't win a national title without being above 50% in the blue chip ratio. Like, that's just part of the deal. But you still got to have you have to have great chemistry. You have to have great, like, Tennessee had a starting walk-on safety last year in Will Brooks, and he was fantastic. And he was clearly a well-liked, important member, and he worked his way up. Like, you need those guys mixed in. And I think the best programs find ways to balance that. And I think you've done a great job at Calhoun doing that.
Yeah, it's sad to see, at the college level, the whole team chemistry and the team bonding. They have to reset their team.
Yeah.
Not even every year. They reset it a few times, and then the last time, this past portal window, and they're playing a game in a few months with the roster that, like I said, it's just sad to see, and it's tough to see kind of sometimes down on the high school level where, it's people put too much stock into what other programs are doing and what other people, and we got to do this and we got to do this, or I'm going to take to steal LeBron, but I'm going to take my talents here or there. That's tough to see, and it's filtering down to every level. And for a while, it didn't affect football quite as much, but now it's getting into that. So hopefully there's an answer to that, because to have great teams and to have teams that go on runs, you've got to have that chemistry. Or, you can have great teams. This is something we talk about all the time as well. You can have a great team here and a great team there, but to have your program to be great, it takes those guys that we had this year, and we've got some next year that may be in the same boat. So hopefully we can they can learn from that. I think I've talked about the guys that didn't play last year more than I did the guys that did. So hopefully our underclassmen learn from that and can find their role, and whatever their role is, embrace it and do it to the best of their ability.
Absolutely. We touched on the 1-3 start there, and then something flipped, and you didn't lose a game for the rest of the season. Did you have an inclination after that 1-3 start that you're like, all right, the record's not great, and I'm sure you had to deal with all kinds of noise, especially with how last year, and then you turn it on. But did you have something internally where you're like, I'm watching the tape and I'm seeing where we're at, like, we're going to be okay, and this is going to be ultimately something that catapults us to the kind of streak that you ended up on?
Yeah, that's kind of a twofold answer, I guess. So the main thing is this, doesn't matter what you do, when you're, especially in sports and life in general, I guess, when you're backed up against the wall, you can go two ways. You can start listening to outside people around you and listen to the negativity, or you can, I've said it before, you can double down on what you believe in as a man and as a coach and as a program. And, that's what we did. We did the latter, and you don't have to change much. You just keep kind of refining what you've got. Now, when you do have those runs of losses that we had, you do start kind of starting to question that, and you can go both ways. And luckily we didn't change anything. We just kept kind of the status quo and kept pushing and kept working. And our seniors, like I said, they were great at pulling us through that. And then really on the flip side of that answer, with the football side, we were kind of discombobulated those first 4 games. We had a lot of weird stuff going on. We had injuries, and we had sicknesses, and we had just different things that had gone on in I hadn't experienced in 20 years of high school football. So you could see the writing on the wall if we could kind of get all the pieces back together, and we did that. And like you said, starting game 5, we went on and went on a streak and didn't lose a game again. So just getting that confidence back and not losing the confidence when we were losing. Like I said earlier, we're just starting to learn from it, but didn't have to do much different. We just kind of put all the pieces together, and the kids did a tremendous job of sticking together and not listening to the people around them, because it's tough to do when you're a place that expects to win like we do, and you're not winning. It's difficult to just keep coming back and going to work. And that's what they did. And I can't be more proud of those guys.
I tell folks whether you're in East Tennessee or in Georgia, there are some programs where it's like the Ricky Bobby quote, like if you're not first, you're last. There are some programs that operate like that, and there are some programs that are like, hey, we're happy to be here. We're chugging along, it's. I understand both sides. It's also kind of a blessing where you're like, man, the care it's good to be at a place that cares and has high expectations, because usually that you need that kind of support to maintain a consistent winner. So it's a catch-22, and it's something that I know you deal with year in, year out, but it's one of those, man, you got a title. Like we're 6 months out, but you got a title, and you talked about like how important your seniors were last year. And the other part of going into a title defense is like guys are gone, and this is now an opportunity where guys are like, I want to repeat. I want to, like, we just went on a run. We haven't lost a game since September, and I want to keep this streak going. So I imagine it's going to be a pretty intriguing spring summer position battle for your group, because a lot of guys are like, oh, it's my turn to step up and keep this thing humming, because like we talk about the worries of the disease of me and all that kind of stuff winning a title. But the flip side, the positive way of spinning it is like, now you have a lot of guys who are like, man, this is now I want to maintain what we've built and maintain what the guys who just left did, right?
Yeah. So number one, you hit on what I love so much about coaching. Every year is completely unique and different. So each team has a different identity, and that's part of what spring football does for you, because it's the first time you get back together without all those seniors that you've been relying on for the last few years. So seeing people, different kids step up and different roles that we're asking different people to do, and the X's and O's and the positions and all that stuff will come kind of later on. But the spring is really for just seeing what kind of team we have, what kind of team we're going to have, and seeing the how people have grown, how people have separated from the year before. And then, to hit on that last part of, we talked a lot this spring about the standard that class set for us, and the standard. And like I said, that's on the field, off the field, in the classroom. They had a very high standard. And a lot of times, when we come to practice, and this is tough as coaches as well, because, our assistant coaches are in the classroom, and their husbands and their dads, and they're dealing with discipline in the classroom, and they have to come coach football and do that kind of stuff. And the kids are the same way. They've got a lot of stuff going on as high schoolers. And a lot of times we let our feelings get in the way of how we practice and how we perform. So, the big thing this spring was just make sure that we put those standards that those guys have set over our feelings. If we can have our standards over our feelings and come to work every day, and regardless of how we feel, and regardless of how hot it is or how hard it is, or what our role is, live up to that standard that those seniors and guys before them had set. So that's been the big key this spring. So like I said, it's awesome. I love that part of football, of getting everybody back together and seeing who's going to step up and who's going to lead. And that leads us right into the summer after separation season. In spring and in the summer, we'll keep growing together as a team and see where we are at the end of it.
When you go back to the week of, in terms of your film study on Jefferson and state title in the bins, and you're going through the film, and one of the things I love that you do is you do that film study YouTube series with the Touchdown Club, and you'll break it down, man. I can tell you will never get tired of watching and breaking down film. That is, I'm just gonna, from the outside looking in, Clay, I feel like that is, you'll never get tired of it. You're a grinder with that. I mean, when you're looking at Jefferson's film, and they put out some really good players, it's a good program. I mean, you have Sammy Brown, Malachi Starks, like it's a good program. And you're looking at that and you're like, all right, I think we have a good shot here. Like, honestly, looking back, you were like, we felt pretty good about some matchups to like. Did you go, oh man, this is still 50-50? I don't know. Or did you have a pretty good feeling that like, they're not going to have answers for some of what we're going to be able to do here?
That's twofold. Number one, they're such a great program. Coach, one of the top coaches in the state of Georgia and the Southeast, and he's been really great with me over the last year. Before we obviously knew that we were going to be playing, he's reached out several times, so he's a class act. So we knew kind of what we were getting into as far as what type of program it is, and I've got a cousin that's on the staff there, and another cousin that was a JV player there. So
y'all talk during the week? How does that work?
So we did a little bit. We did a little.
Okay.
Bit. We get to see each other Thanksgiving and Christmas. So they beat us actually in 2012 for the state championship. So
yeah.
Next couple of Thanksgivings were pretty cold, but no, it was great. So we knew exactly kind of the type of program and type of kids they had, and we feel like we're similar to them in a lot of ways across all of our sports and our academics. We feel like that's kind of the school that we look to compare ourselves to. So we knew going into that, and then X's and O wise, like you said, you just you look the whole, because that was an extended week. So normally we play Friday and then play the next Friday. Well, we played on a Friday, and then we didn't play again until the next Wednesday. So you had a lot of extensive film work to do, and sometimes you can. I think all coaches have a bad habit of kind of overdoing it. It got to a point where that Wednesday or Thursday, finally was like, we got to stop. We've got some good stuff going in for them and going there, but as a coach, you use everything up until they played LaGrange in the semifinals, and we pulled a formation that LaGrange had ran against them because we felt like we were going to give up some good matchups as well, and we had a few big plays out of it. So yeah, film study's huge, and yes, I do love it. My wife gets upset with me sometimes because with the way we can watch film now, we can watch it anywhere. But no, it's I enjoy doing it, and like I said, I wake up every morning and come in and do it a little bit, even in the times we're not playing. So, but at the end of the day, it comes down to those kids got to go out there and play their tail off, and that's what they did. And we knew it was going to be a 4-quarter football game, and that's luckily what we were able to do is jump out to a 14-0 lead. And then we just kind of held on for dear life for the rest of the time because we knew they were talented enough to come back. But luckily we were able to hold them off.
Non-football stuff as we wrap up here today, Clay.
What you got?
It's summer. Your wife's like, we're not doing this anymore. We're not doing a film study summer. We're not doing it. Money is no object. Where are you taking the fam this summer? Where have you not gone that you want to go?
But number one, when spring gets over, I get about the middle of May to the middle of July to play golf.
Okay.
My first the first checklist of looking at where to go, we got to be able to have a golf course. So that's got to be somewhere near a beach. We've been to Myrtle Beach a few times. We've been down to Destin. So somewhere with a beach that the kids can play in, and I can get over and play a little bit of golf for these 2 months. So definitely there, I think would be good. I don't really care what beach. They're all kind of the same to me as long as they're that water comes up and goes
You
back.
say that, and my wife and I went to Maui last summer. And let me tell you, Maui's a little bit different. Like, there's some black sand beach, and there's a pretty nice golf course that we sit, like, it was right down look, money is no object. We need to plan the Clay Stephenson family Maui trip, because I'll tell you, you'll be a hit. Like, that's a huge, huge hit. My wife loved Maui. Like, Maui is fantastic.
So that may be, you might have said it for me. That might be the new bucket list trip that we need to take for sure.
There you go. Like, and find a way to maybe you can even find a way to Calhoun scouting. Like, hey, Hawaii's putting out a lot of talent here these days. It's more of a football. I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn over there in what they're doing in Hawaii. They're taking football more and more seriously over in Hawaii. But yeah, no, can't say enough positive things there.
For getting to watch football on Saturdays and Sunday nights, I'm like, this is my research. I got to do the research.
You got to stay on top, man. You're a state champion. You got to use this cachet at this point. This is how it goes, man. Like, I got to stay ahead. I got to stay ahead and see what they're doing over there. Clay, how do the good folks support everything going on here with Calhoun football this spring and summer?
Yeah, the big thing is CalhounTouchdownclub.com. It's got all of the CalhounTDClub.com. Our touchdown club does a great job of keeping everybody up to date on apparel and tickets and just kind of how to check out Calhoun. And then calhounschools.org. That's our school account, and just click on the football tab. It's got a lot of information as well. And like I said, we got great support from our administration all the way down to our touchdown club. Can't say enough about both of them. And you don't have a first class program like we do without great administrative report and support and the touchdown club. So both those do a great job. So those are two places to check us out. And there's obviously on Twitter, the Calhoun football or CHS Jackets football Twitter page is kind of how we keep up to date with most of the world. So those three things right there will get you everything you need to know.
Love it, Clay. Enjoy it. Don't look to 25 yet. Like, just keep enjoying it. I know it's gonna be hard, but enjoy the state title for as long as you can.
Well, look, thanks, Jason. I appreciate it, and hopefully we'll talk again soon with another one coming up or already have one. So appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Clay.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.